Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to week two's forecast. This is a major week. It contains a lot of the meat of the gnarly astrology that's happening this season. We have Mercury stationing retrograde in Gemini this week, and we have Jupiter entering Aries this week, as well as a total lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So we have quite the week ahead of us. The first thing to discuss is that Mercury is stationing retrograde on Tuesday, May 10th at 4 degrees of Gemini. And so Mercury retrograde calls for us to slow down, to review, to recalibrate. I love the word recalibrate for Mercury retrograde. It indicates more of a process that goes on. As everyone likes to point out, it's not the best astro weather for making a decision or a firm, solid decision. But if you're involved with time-sensitive stuff that needs to get done during a retrograde, there's no real reason to fear, especially if you're reviewing things. You just got to check your work more, and you'll probably be called to do that anyways naturally. So it might not be something that you need to implement yourself. We still need to do our regular life things. So I would recommend reviewing things 3 times if you can, because the number 3 pleases Mercury, doing things 3 times. That's how many times Mercury passes over the same degree when it's retrograde. So Mercury should be pleased if you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's. Even if you're not really a detail-oriented person, just the intention will be enough for this, for Mercury to be pleased. But have extra patience stored up for all the fuckery that's going to be going on with Mercury stationing and not moving. Like, it's one thing for Mercury to be moving backwards, but it's another for Mercury to be completely stopped. So Mercury moving backwards kind of informs us that we need to go back over our work, review some things, reorganize, reprioritize. But when Mercury stops moving, when it stations, it indicates stopping something, halting, or a delay or a block or a challenge coming up to move forward before you can even start the review process. I would even say Mercury moving backwards is a good time for a trial period for something. It's a good time to attempt to implement something and see if it works for you. And just give yourself these 3 weeks to try it out, and when Mercury stations direct again, you can make your final decision. But yeah, a dead stop motion tells us something in our lives is coming to a halt, a stop, or a standstill. When Mercury is stopped, projects, plans, travels, technology, decisions also come to a standstill. So themes around this Mercury retrograde at this point, and for Gemini topics with it stationing retrograde there, this tells us that people from the past are likely to pop up in one way or another, even if it's just a nostalgic memory. Interesting synchronicities, of course, arise that allow for healing and release around things that have unfinished business. Hopefully no exes pop up for you in your sphere, but it's likely that might happen for Sag or Pisces risings. And more annoyingly, technology acts up around this time, and themes around new technology or technology resets you can watch out for those. So make sure you're backing up your files, whatever that means nowadays in 2022. But save copies of things just in case, and make sure your phone has a case on it and maybe even some glass protection. It's not a bad time to do research and consider getting a new form of technology. If you're thinking about getting a new phone, a new computer, or Apple Watch, or whatever type of little tech gadget you're into, it's a good time to do research about that and decide maybe when Mercury stations direct to move forward with that. Mercury and Gemini love gadgets, you see. So purchasing something during the retrograde is only advised if you already decided to get it before the retrograde started, and if you already took the precautions. The retrograde cycle will probably symbolize the process of learning how to use or implement it into your new routine. Travel and and or modes of transportation in general or other topics to consider with Mercury stationing. A good remediation for a Mercury retrograde is any maintenance on your mode of transportation that might be due. This is especially true if you are a Cancer rising or an Aries rising. It's a great time to get your oil changed, rotate your tires, change your fluids, or whatever maintenance is needed for your method of transportation. It's a good time to consider and research new methods of transportation as well. So if you're car shopping or scooter shopping, it's a good time to research those things. Notice I said consider and not adopt a new mode of transportation. Give yourself the 3 weeks to think it over if possible. Again, if you've already done the research, and this is the time you got it, no need to fear. It's probably just the retrograde probably will speak to you learning and implementing it into your new routine, as I said earlier. But also, Mercury retrograde, it's a good time. It's a time when nostalgia might be more vivid. Good old Mercury retrograde. Things come up from the past or a trial period. But yeah, also a trial period for something new that's getting implemented in your life in the coming weeks. I often see people moving or unpacking or organizing or having to live somewhere else during the retrograde, especially for Gemini risings and Pisces risings. I also see people traveling back to places that they haven't been in a while, and that's especially true for Libra risings and Capricorn risings. Money and commerce is also a subject of the Mercury retrograde. A reorganization with payment schedules or investing in something that could bring you something better. Sometimes discussions around money or attaining money in some way from the past can resurface and surprise us. So like past bosses or coworkers can come up, or just a way you've made money in the past repeating itself. And this is especially true for Leo risings and Taurus risings. Another thing to mention with this Mercury retrograde is Gemini and Virgo may be noticing a dip in their vitality. Mercury, your ruling planet, is stopping. So something about you and your body might be stopping. When the ruling planet stations retrograde, many times Gemini and Virgo risings can feel it in their bodies and in their health. So around May 10th, Mercury will be at its standstill, and with this, extra Mercury fuckery is circulating. So as best you can, embrace more patience. Embrace more patience for the possible material struggles you encounter, especially with your fixed plans, with technology, or any travel plans you have. Embrace more patience for the possibility of a layer of nostalgia resurfacing to be released or healed. The good news is Mercury will never be retrograde for too long. It'll station direct around June 3rd. As the universe likes to, it tosses us another curveball in a different part of the zodiac on the same day. So on the same day, Jupiter enters Aries. A page is being turned in the Jupiter book in our lives. So the last time Jupiter was in Aries was July of 2010 to October of 2010, and then again February 2011 to June 2011. So if you think back to what was going on for you around this time, you can get an idea of what energy to expect for this coming year or coming months. Take it one step further by considering the topic of the house that Aries rules in your chart. Jupiter in Aries recalibrates our priorities and allows us to feel more adventurous and more bold. It's progressive, it's fast-paced, it's brave, it's self-reliant, and it's impatient. It has all the energy to do all the things and lights a fire under all of our asses, especially to work towards our dreams and our goals specifically. Although we might see our dreams and our goals shifting with this recalibration with Jupiter entering Aries, it'll give you the boost you need to make it happen, whatever it is. If you've been feeling cooped up, this ingress will give you the spur you needed to free yourself in whatever way. positive, uplifting. Jupiter in Aries is like the soccer coach we all needed when we were kids, affirming us, validating us, and pushing us to be better, and giving us a Gatorade when we're sweaty. Can Jupiter in Aries be too bold? Yes. You may notice themes of people being extra in general, extra assertive especially with beliefs, maybe extra pushy. Boundaries are a very important practice during this transit with Jupiter in a Mars-ruled sign. It can be very productive, propelling us to work towards whatever we believe we should do. We may notice an uptick in vitality, having more energy, extra energy for active lifestyle things like hiking or biking. Team sports are also highlighted, making a fun and positive environment for that Aries house in our charts. And this is a majorly huge change for Sag risings and Pisces risings. The ruling planet of those signs, Jupiter, is changing dignity. So this past year may have been a bit more emotional for Sag or for Pisces. Maybe not Pisces, but for Sag for sure. Risings involving a bit more depth than usual. Jupiter in Pisces for this past year has this energy of feeling like this comfy weighted blanket, a cocoon where you can hide or where you can hide in to heal and feel safe. Jupiter in Aries is going to rip the blanket off, and it may be surprising at first, but you will soon feel the warmth and the freedom that exists outside that you didn't realize you missed getting out of that blanket, like a butterfly spreading its wings, even. But for all of us, this transition will feel like we've rubbed the sleep from our eyes and finally woke up, ready to put the key in the ignition and pedal to the metal. And then around May 12th, the Sun conjoins the North Node at 22 degrees Taurus. So this indicates that halfway point through eclipse season, goody gumdrops. Around this day, we're probably going to be feeling wildly insatiable in some fashion. Since this is a conjunction in Taurus, maybe the insatiation is regarding Taurian topics, like craving comfort, craving drink, craving food, eating, drinking, sleeping more. And it could be due to a craving to ground. It's a great time for gardening or spending any time with the earth or in nature in some way. So with grounding comes security. Feeling a craving or need for security, maybe an obsession or fixation on something especially monetary or material, or an obsession over something you want to buy, something like that. This isn't really a serious transit, though the general cravings will be felt around this time, and it's just kind of useful to be aware of why you're craving something so obsessively. And it's nice to know why I'm going to eat 20 cookies for dinner that night. So people with planets around 22 degrees of the fixed signs, that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, will be noticing this the most. And then we have the crescendo of the week. During the weekend, I should say, May 14th, 15th weekend, there's a lot going on. First off, Venus is conjoining Chiron at 14 degrees Aries, and this transit can bring up triggers in general. Chiron is a centaur asteroid here to trigger and to heal, and it's conjoining Venus, who loves love, beauty, and harmony. Triggers can come up around your own self-worth, as well as your self-worth in relationships. Maybe triggering a wound that's just deeply personal to us, that roots back to childhood in some way. Chiron can feel a little ouchy, but he just wants to help you release the pent-up emotions and assist in whatever healing he can. But on the other hand, you could spend time with someone who is triggered, or spend time in a situation where you are the healing ears or the healing hands for somebody. People with planets or points around 14 degrees of the cardinal signs, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, will be feeling this the most. And at the same time, we have the Sun squaring Saturn at 24 degrees Aquarius. So this brings a certain level of seriousness, somberness, or slowness, the three S's for Saturn. Something in your life is probably going to be slowed down or stopped or in need of adjustments. Saturn working out the karma of the situation. You could hear a no that you weren't hoping to get, or have a change in your plans in some way in general. You could also just be spending time with an elder or elders, Saturn ruling the elders. Or maybe these days just require a lot of time and a lot of effort out of you, working you to the bone in some way. Saturn loves bone. Saturn loves to bone. So we have Venus and Chiron triggering us, and we have the Saturn squaring the Sun to slow us down and make us feel serious or committed in some way. Also, the Sun is sextile with Neptune in Pisces at this time, mixing in an entirely different flavor filled with both unexplainable and forgettable essences. That's Neptune for you. There's a part of the weekend that is super serious, mature, filled with hard work, possibly triggering for some people. But there's another part of the weekend that is more leisurely, filled with imagination and fantasy, maybe art or watching shows. Neptune brings in magic and thins the veil, so allowing for more spirituality to be accessed, and allows also for a nap to deal with all the energy going on. So if Neptune is bringing you foggy confusion, maybe just rest your eyes a while, just take a nap. When you wake up, it'll be a little more clear, although we still have to talk about the eclipse. So finally, the night of May 15th, we have a total lunar eclipse in Scorpio at 25 degrees. Eclipses, and especially lunar eclipses, are all about release. I have written before and talked about before eclipses being a major time for endings and beginnings, the ending of an era and the beginning of a new era. So it's another eclipse in this series. The last one we get until October, so that's nice. So we had one in November of 2021, and then we had one at the end of April, and then this is the third one. Energy around eclipses can be majorly wonky, that's for sure. So you might notice weird stuff happening around you, interesting synchronicities, and people acting up in general. If the eclipses aren't touching your life too intensely, I'm sure you can think of at least one person who is going through it, and they're probably a fixed rising. There's really nothing to be done about eclipses or eclipse energy besides surrendering control. This is karmic adjustment season, especially around the topics that Scorpio and Taurus rule in your chart. An eclipse in Scorpio asks us to purge and release our deepest fears and emotions. Scorpio's super deep, super intense, emotions that we have stuffed down for many, many years. The Scorpio part of our chart is fiercely loyal and sometimes to our detriment. So hiding things from ourselves that we're not ready to see. Because if we did look at it, the loyal connection, the loyalty would feel weakened. So when the loyalty feels weakened, the connection is weakened, and our safety and security feel a lot. It feels like it's unraveling basically, and you're supposed to let it during eclipse season. You're supposed to let things unravel. If the eclipse says you need to unravel, you're gonna unravel. Much of this is about our baseline security, feeling safe, and surviving as comfortably as we can. And in order to do that authentically, in order to feel the most connected to ourselves, we need to consciously shed layers of ourselves that we no longer fit in. So allow for the vulnerability that the eclipses bring out. Allow things to come out. The most you can do with eclipses is ask to be shown. Ask to be shown the way. Ask to be shown clarity of perception, and act like you want it. This intention will show the universe that you want to work with it and you want what's best for your highest good. And I will release content on this eclipse specifically also at some point, so you can look for that as well. And that's what we have for the second week of May's forecast. There's clearly a lot going on. This is the meat of the spring transits and shifts, so know that this coming week may be a lot, and make space in your mind, heart, and body if you can, as best as you possibly can. Thank you so much for being here. Are you doing anything #astrologergood? Anything relevant going on? Please keep me posted. And yeah, thank you again for being here. See you next time. Bye.